When city leaders think about the economic value of events to the state, they are focusing mostly on one of the kinds of values that are created, the so-called economic activity value. They're looking for job creation and tax revenues and spending that occurs. There are a number of other values, though, that happen. The one that's completely ignored, and in my opinion is probably the most important, is what we refer to as quality of life value. Others are more intangible. I mean, if you think about shooting baskets with your kid when the NCAA has come to town, and you can talk about what you watched last night, people tend to disregard them because they're small, but that misses one of the most important elements in sports, and that's the power of millions of people. Typically, in hosting events, the costs that are focused on are the costs of actually running the event. Or do I have to borrow money to create facilities to host these kinds of events? And all that people simply get fixated on borrowing costs. But there are other costs. Just like there are other benefits and quality of life aspects, there are also other costs to some people because their quality of life is actually diminished by the fact that these events are here. In my opinion, they're very comparable. They're events of very large scale that draw national interest, that bring many people from outside of the city and state jurisdiction, the state boundaries, to Detroit. Actually, it's probably the case that they can do better off of the NCAA Final Four than they can off of the Super Bowl because so many different people are coming to a Final Four. You have 4 different teams instead of 2. It's highly likely that they'll be from farther away. So more people will come from farther away, bringing more money with them for a longer period of time. One of the values that state and local officials and merchants themselves and even the general public feel about major events is high levels of hotel occupancy and that the downtown area will be jumping. There'll be lots of activity for merchants. But there are 3 mitigating factors. First one is you need to know what was already going to be going on anyway. The second part has to do with what the primary provider has negotiated with the state and local hosts for their own accommodations. So if the NCAA itself has negotiated that one of those hotels will be full of NCAA people, but the payment for that is actually coming out of the revenues that are generated by the event happening, then that's a net wash. The final thing is to remember that hotels are mostly staffed by minimum wage people. Not entirely, but mostly staffed by minimum wage people. And when their occupancy rate goes up, they'll hire on a few more of those kinds of people. So that's going to be the net increase. Most of the money that's generated is actually generated then for the parent company of the hotel chain, and that parent company will typically not even be within the state of Michigan, and those monies will flow out.